Thanks, Jim. Hi, my name's Luke Deasy, and I've been on the diet for about...
What did you say?
Say what? My name is Luke Deasy. So, I've been on the diet about 7.5 years. Actually, kind of like Allison, I think we started probably going to Rossman about the same time. I thank God every day that I have this diet. And I thank Kathy quite often because it was her that I'm just going to tell my story. It's going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. I was at a chemtrail rally in 2006 down at the State Building. And there's a big courtyard, and there were a bunch of speakers and people, and I'm standing there talking to somebody, and I look across the courtyard. It's like from here across the street. And this woman starts making a beeline. I said, "Is she coming at me?" And she's coming straight at me. And she didn't stop. She came right up to me, and she looked at me, and she said, "You don't look good. You need to go on the diet." And I'm like, "Who are you, and what are you talking about?" Well, she got Audius's name out, and I looked it up. And at that point in my life, I was so sick. I had had an accident, and I had 4 surgeries, and I had taken all this medication, and I was pretty sick. I lost like 50 pounds in 60 days. Burned holes in my guts. I just couldn't keep anything in me. It just went right through me. So let me just say I was ready for some healing at that point. Kathy came along. I found out about the diet. I looked it up online. And then I ended up going to Rawson, and I bought the books, and I read it, and I said to myself, this guy's out of his mind. You know? So there's no way I can do it. I was trepidatious, but I was so desperate for healing. And so I went and bought some raw milk over at Wild Oats in Pasadena. And it was like I was going through all these gyrations, just thinking about drinking raw milk because I'd just been trained up for the whole bacteria thing. But I wanted healing so much, I drank that. And then I guess about 3 months into the diet, I had done all the good things, eggs and honey and berries and all that good stuff, but not done the meat. And then one day I was going to church, and I was with my wife, and I had made up this jar full of raw meat and different stuff. She's like, "You sure you want to eat that before we go into the service?" And I said, "Yeah, that's it." I said, "Just push me out the door if I look like I'm going to fall over." So after I ate it, that afternoon, and this is about 3 or 4 months into it, and I wasn't very much fun to be around at that point in my life because I had been treated so poorly by the medical establishment. And I felt so bad most of the time. I had no sense of humor. I just didn't feel like myself. And that afternoon, after having eaten that meat, I felt something. It was like something that I could hang on to. And I was staying in the kitchen with my wife. And I made a stupid joke.
You got your sense of humor back. What was it?
Yeah. And I looked over at her, and she's just got her hands on the counter. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. And I looked at her, and I said, "What's going on?" She said, "It's been so long since you told a joke." So anyway, I knew I was on the right track. So I kept it up, and I have to say it was probably a 1.5 years before I ate any chicken, but it took a while. Somebody showed me how they made ceviche, and so I did that. But after about 7 months into the diet, I went and met with Audius, and he read my eyes. And when I was sitting there, He didn't know me from Adam. He said, I don't want to know anything about you. Don't tell me anything. Just come in, we'll sit down and take pictures. I'll start reading your eyes. And so we went on like that. And he started reading my eyes. And it was like he was reading my logbook. He was reading my logbook, the very things that I told all the doctors that I'd been treated by for several years. And I'd had all the surgeries and I'd received no healing whatsoever. I just kept getting worse. They just kept giving me more pills. And I got misty because, you know, I knew this was the real deal. And the one thing I walked away with that day was, you know, he knew what he was talking about. And I was so impressed with his God-given ability to connect seemingly inconsequential pieces of information across, you know, vast time and distance, and to put it together in such a way that it all made sense because it was based in physical science, and it had boundaries that could be quantified, and that just spoke to me in great ways. It just told me that I was in the right place. And before I walked away that afternoon, one thing he told me, I said, look, you know, I said, I'm just getting the hang of this. And, you know, I just need to know, you know, I was coming from the other side, like I think many of us did, where we put our faith and trust in the system. And I was really just like pushing through. And he encouraged me to just act with courage and integrity, to be honest. And he did it in such a matter-of-fact way. It was just like, yeah, that's just what you got to do. And I said, well, and he said, you know what might help you is to sing. And I would encourage that for everybody. You know, maybe he'd like to hear other people sing. I didn't do anything that day, but so I have. And singing is just a tremendous way of expressing yourself. And, you know, I don't see our friend here who was playing the guitar earlier, but it really is a very powerful thing. So that's my personal story, and I've shared it with a few people. I think I know most of you here, you know, maybe not by name, but we've seen each other over the years. And one last thing I'd like to say is that this is a unique opportunity that we have here together right now. I don't think all of us have been in one place at one time. And this is something that needs to happen regularly. We need to come together like this if we are going to continue to make progress. So anyway, thank you very much.